1st of May 2020, one of the holidays in the Kenyan calendar where workers are usually celebrated. But today, that is not so. For the workers have been forced to embrace a new guest that has sent them to compulsory leave. A guest that has saw them lose their jobs. A guest that leaves them wondering on how they'll get food on the table. A guest that went into their homes and welcomed, and no one has yet information on when the guest will be leaving. Now, but one thing for sure is that through washing hands and keeping social distance, the guests may leave and workers will resume their duties in their respective companies and institutions. A very good morning to you and welcome to Fact Check with me, Abelo Masete. And today, right away, I want to introduce my panelists from Glenda Cheng, who will be joining us live via Zoom. Glenda Cheng, she is a digital content creator in K24, or rather Media Max company. And also I'll be joined live by Milka Kihara. She's a psychologist, and also as well as Alan Polycarp, who is a journalist, as well as Keegan Bernard, who is a journalist, as well as an political analyst. Now, also, I do understand that Bridget Agwenge, she will also join us on the way. Now, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to Fact Check. Now, so far recently, we have witnessed that there's been a traffic snarl-up in Malaba, Busia borders, where we have seen that a lot of drivers who they're transporting maize and other commodities in different parts of the country complain that COVID-19 testing in those areas has led to them staying on the road for many hours, and thus it has led to a traffic snarl-up in those particular areas. Now, Bernard Keegan, if you can hear me, do you think the traffic snarl-up in that particular area poses a great danger to residents residing in that particular place? Keegan, if you can hear me.
Good morning, and thank you so much, Abel Omaseta, for having us this morning for this discussion. Yeah, indeed, we have heard about that scenario whereby the truck drivers got stuck in Malaba. And remember that in Uganda, about 5 of patients who tested positive of COVID-19 were from Kenya, that those were drivers. As we know, that Uganda is a landlocked country, and so it gets most of its products from through the port of Mombasa. So what happened is that it was quite a very, very challenging situation for the Kenyan government to decide on its own, since it had to intervene with the both countries, that's Uganda and Kenya. So, and as of yesterday, I think we saw the CS Adan Mohammed. That's a CS for East African and regional development, together with the counterparts from health ministries from both Kenya and Uganda. I think they held a meeting and they discussed about it, and I think it can be resolved, because they said that maybe all the drivers must be tested, and they have to reduce the number of the drivers, because we normally have maybe a driver and a co-driver, so it could be only one person. So we hope that the situation will be resolved quickly, so that, because you know that whenever they take time there, more than 40 kilometers, stacking for more than 40 kilometers means that there are more than about 100 or so drivers there, and some of them might be testing positive, and they mingle and interact with the citizens there, the residents of that area. So that can pose a very serious challenge there.
Okay, Bernard Keegan, thank you very much for your input. Allow me to bring in Milka Kihara. Kihara, if you can hear me, I mean, the traffic snarl-up in that area stretches to up to about 40 kilometers. But and also residents in that particular area have been complaining that these drivers have been interacting with them, have been handshaking, because some Kenyans tend to be disobedient not to observe no shaking of hands. Milka, if you can hear me, do you think those drivers being stuck in that traffic and them interacting with residents residing in that particular place does pose a great danger to those people in contracting COVID-19? Ihara, if you can hear me.
Yes, I think, thank you very much for having us today. And I think it poses a great danger to them because they don't observe social distancing and they don't, they are still shaking hands. So I think to easen that up, to easen the traffic, I think instead of them going to one place to get tested, I think when they're on that line on the traffic, they should be tested when they're in their trucks instead of them going to one place so that the traffic may not be a lot. It stretches up to 40 kilometers is quite a distance.
Okay, Glenda, if you can hear me, what do you think about the snarl in that particular area? Does it pose a great danger to residents residing in that particular place, Glenda?
Yes, thank you for having us on board, Abel. So, according to me, I think it poses a very great danger. And I will suggest that the government will take better and earlier precautions. Before the truck comes from Mombasa, they can do testing for people in Mombasa. Before you are able to transport a cargo to the borders, you need to be tested. Before handling the trucks, you need to be tested. If you're negative, you're allowed to push through with the transportation. So Ama, they can also try. We have way bridges. Yesterday I was talking to someone. He was telling me we have a way bridge in Gilgil and we have a way bridge in Eldoret before you get to Malaba. So you can be tested, then get your results before you get to Malaba. So if the government will do that early, it will be very better, and it will also save lives because you'll go there knowing if you're positive, if you're negative, you're allowed to transport to do transportation. If you're positive, you're not allowed to do the transportation. So it's just the government taking early precautions with the truck drivers. We can also benchmark from Uganda, not more than one person doing the transportation. Only one person is allowed to transport the goods to the border.
Okay, Glenda, I get your point. Thank you very much. Gigen, do you think we should benchmark from our neighbors, Uganda, that instead of us only checking temperatures of those particular drivers, you can also go to an extent of testing them like our brothers in Uganda? Do you think we should benchmark from Uganda? Gigen, if you can hear me.
Thank you so much, Abel. Yes, indeed, that's what should have been done because you find that most of these drivers travel all the way from the port of Mombasa to Uganda. So I think they pass through several stages. For example, even from we have that of Gilgil, and we have other several counties that they do that testing. So they should coordinate so that they shall test a certain place, and before even arriving at the border, these people could have even gotten their results, and they should know who are just free to continue with the journey and those who can be put into isolation. So that should be done as fast as possible, so that these people cannot spend time there about 3 days, 5 days there, just waiting for them to be tested at the border. This can be done all along the way. So that can be done.
Okay, Kigen, I get your point. Now, Alan, I can see Alan has joined us. Alan, I was asking, in the drive to test, in the drive to make sure that mass testing does continue in our country, we have seen that it has led to a traffic snarl up in Malaba Busia borders that is up to about 40 kilometers. So, but residents in that place are complaining, look at this, that these drivers are interacting with us. Don't you think it poses a great danger to them if they are negative, that they'll be eligible in contracting COVID-19? Polycarp, if you can hear me.
Abel, thank you and good morning. Now, what you're saying is quite true about the border issue, but I feel as much as it's an issue, the testing can't be stopped because these people need to be tested to cross the border. So rather, I think the government should have regulations on how the drivers and the residents of that area can interact and reduce their interaction to safeguard both the drivers and the people of that area. So I think the government should try to find out regulations for these people to be safe.
Okay, I get your point. Thank you very much, Alan Polycarp. Now, Kigen, if I can come to you. Now, social distancing is one of the stringent measures to be observed in fighting corona. But how is that achieved in slum areas? Talk of Kibera, talk of Mukuru Kwanjenga, talk of Madare, talk of Kawangware. How can the government go about this measure of keeping social distance? Yet in slum areas, we see that people are living in congested population. Kigan.
As we all know, and we have heard the guidelines from the WHO, social distancing has proved to be one of the best methods of just controlling this COVID-19, especially in densely populated areas. But unfortunately, you find that social distancing cannot be achieved, especially in slums, where large groups of people just have to share the scanty resources. For example, even you find that you don't even have the enough space to walk, like walking paths and even the roads. And even when they have just resources like water taps, they just have to grout there so that they can get. So you find that might not work well, especially when these people have to go and scramble for the scanty resources available. So I think the government might have to actually chip in and try to help them in many ways possible, so that if they provide some of these resources in plenty, then it can be much possible. So for now, telling people that just please stay at just keep some distance, some perimeter, then that really, unless the government just of the stuff available to them at their doorstep, so that they keep on moving.
Okay, I get your point, Kigan. Thank you very much. Glenda, take a look at this. We are washing our hands, yes, it is a tick. But in terms of keeping social distance in slum areas, talk of Madare, talk of Kibera, that is not possible. We are not being able to put that measure into place. What do you think? What can the government put in place to go about that measure so that you can be able to combat COVID-19, Glenda?
Thank you, Abel. This cannot happen. Actually, in the slum areas, it's a bit difficult unless you do a complete lockdown, and that's something that can never happen in Kenya because of scant resources in the slum areas. So I think what can be done, it's just us ourselves having individual responsibility. I, as Glenda, having individual responsibility. I know that if I am not close to this person, this will reduce the chances of the disease spreading. And also the one thing that most of the people living in the slum areas, sorry to say, they're not educated, as in most of them see this as myths. Like yesterday I was watching news and there's this guy in Kawangware who was saying there's no corona, and he's actually talking on TV. So ignorance is it's a major thing that's really affecting the people in the slum areas. So we cannot have this done by the government. This is individual responsibility. I myself decide I'm gonna do social distancing. So the government cannot do anything about it. It's only that comes from us, not the government.
Okay, thank you very much, Glenda. Now, Kihara Wanjiri, if you can hear me, I mean, we are washing our hands, but social distance, it has proved to be a challenge in people living in slum areas. What can the government do about this? Or are Kenyans ignorant to an extent that they don't want to follow the government measures? Kihara, if you can hear me.
Thank you. It is quite difficult. There's nothing the government can do, just as Glenda said. The people who live in the slums, for example, in Kibera, those are people who, if your house is here, if you stretch your hand enters into your neighbor's house. So how do you tell such a person about social distancing if they don't want to? It is just their own self-will. If they want to social distance, they will do it. That is if they are sensitized on the effects of coronavirus and how you can get it.
But Kihara, in slum areas, is that the population is very congested to an extent that even if one is willing to keep social distance, they can't because people are too many, Kihara.
Yeah, that is something the government should have done a long time ago. We have the biggest slum in Africa. There's nothing they did about it. Up to now, there's nothing they're doing about it. So it is not up to the government. I think it's just too big for them. I think it is self-will, individually. If you know the effects of coronavirus and you know how fast it can finish you, you will keep that social distance, you will wash your hands, you will sanitize, you'll do everything that has been said.
14 people have been reported to have contacted COVID-19, but looking in that particular area, social distance proves to be a problem, because yes, we are washing hands, but keeping that distance that is required, the 1 meter distance, still proves a problem. How can the government go about this measure so as to help the citizens in fighting COVID-19?
Apple, as you've said, Kenyans are still so ignorant, especially people in the slum areas, and it proves to be a challenge no matter how much the government tries to help these, because it really doesn't come from the government, as Glenda said. It comes from the people. If the people are not ready to follow up these measures, it's not gonna work. It needs the people to take up, the people to be proactive and do these things as they are told. And doing that in the slums is really hard, because the people in the slums again are quite tough-headed and they live hand to mouth. So like they still have to go out there and find something to eat. I mean, you could see people still going out for drinks. That's so immature, if I may, because I think at this point it should have hit us hard. Like everyone should be in a point that they're so aware about this situation, because we are almost at 400 cases, Abel, and that is like so big that anyone who's not scared yet should just have a feel of what it is. They should try and take action out of that. But I think for the slum area, that's a different case. That will not happen anytime soon, unless government just finds a special way to include these people in their